We got to talk about this Sports Illustrated article I saw this morning. 5 moves the Chicago Bears must make this offseason by Pete Martuniak. What a name. Despite a strong showing in 2025, the Bears cannot afford to rest on their laurels. Well, Pete, I agree with you so much. Let's hear what you have to say about the 2026 Chicago Bears and what they must do to become to get even further, I guess, than they did this year.
Sure.
Which was, quite frankly, they defied expectations.
They were ahead of the schedule.
Now expectations are high and people are dreaming about that silver trophy. Here's the opening, by the way. In his season-ending presser this week, the Chicago Bears head coach Ben Johnson acknowledged that the season did not end the way anyone on the team wanted it to. The goal was a Super Bowl, and a heartbreaking divisional round loss to the Rams blocked them from reaching that goal. Quote, "We go back to square one. We're back at the bottom," Johnson said. And Nika, we talked about this quote the other day, but it's worth reiterating here. This is a brand new season and a brand new team, and Ben Johnson is hitting the reset button on everything. We're starting over. If you hear experienced coaches and players alike talk about seasons of the past, they tend to refer to them as they're all their own stories.
Yeah.
And so the fact that you have a second-year head coach that's talking like this already and aware of that and has an understanding of that tells me that he's well-conditioned for this job, everybody. Carry on with the article. He's right. He put it bluntly, but Johnson is right. Despite a smashing success of a season, one that saw Caleb Williams set franchise records and included a miraculous wild card win over the Packers, the page has turned. And everyone will start at 0-0 in September. That's also true. That means there is no more chest beating to be done.
Really?
I got a couple more in.
Nice.
What do you think of me now? To be done regarding what the Bears accomplished in 2025. The focus now turns to 2026 and what the Bears need to do to get better. And look, this shouldn't be hard, everybody. I think despite the fact that we all fell in love with this Bears team, I think there's also a lot of hope and optimism and enthusiasm for the Bears of the future, particularly Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams not being fully unlocked yet.
I agree.
Toward that end, here are 5 moves the Bears must make this offseason if they're to have any hope of delivering on their promises and taking the next step towards Super Bowl contention. All right, Pete. We're going to find out if I agree with you and Nika agrees with you about these 5 steps the Bears must take to get to the Super Bowl. Everybody.
All right. It's only 5 steps away based on this article.
Indeed. All right, number 1, extend Darnell Wright. Darnell Wright's all-pro breakthrough this year has silenced any debate on whether the Bears should offer him a contract extension. He's been one of Ryan Poles' best draft selections and has developed into one of the game's top right tackles. His extension should be a no-brainer. And Darnell Wright definitely burst onto the scene this year. And as you can see in this tweet from the article, Goodberry, at Joe Goodberry, tweeted, Darnell Wright sent Shamar Stewart to the afterlife on 4th and 1 and took a teammate with him at the end. Just this video is hilarious. This is what a pancake block looks like, everybody.
Okay.
Darnell Wright literally upends Shamar Stewart and he lands on his back. He gets blocked so badly. He's head over heels and on his back by the end of it. Continuing on here, the Bears definitely need to extend Darnell Wright. The offensive line is so important, and we already lost Ozzie Trapillo, which we're going to talk about in a second, for the entire 2026 season. So we need all the continuity we can get on that offensive line. And so extending Darnell Wright is literally a no-brainer. I do agree with this.
Sure.
And it should be a high priority.
Yes. So he just needs a contract extension.
Yes. All right, number 2, re-sign Kevin Byard III. Both of the Bears' starting safeties, Jaquan Brisker and Kevin Byard III, need new contracts in 2026. And both of them are worthy of an extension. I don't like where this is going. However, the Bears will likely bring back just one of them, and we got a hint at which safety the Bears will prioritize in Ryan Poles' season-ending presser. Spoiler alert, it's Byard.
Of course.
I'm honestly torn on this too.
Okay.
It may be a tough break for Brisker, but it's what's best for the Bears. Byard is a 3-time All-Pro who led the league in interceptions this season and has said that his first choice in free agency is Chicago. He may be slightly older at 32 years old, but the leadership he brings to this team is invaluable. Yeah, it's hard to argue with that, Nika. It is really hard to argue with that. The league leader in interceptions is what scares me because that's like usually unreplicatable. And we're talking about someone that's not getting younger. 32 years old. Those are my hiccups and concerns. Now, that being said, I think Kevin Byard is one of the most professional players on the Bears, and he is rewarded as being a captain on this team. And believe me, that is not a light captain like in years past with some of these Bears teams. That is earned. There's only 4 guys that wear the C, everybody, and he's one of them. So keep that in mind. I think he does come back. But I'm torn because I think Jaquan Brisker goes elsewhere and still has some ceiling and still shows some greatness. And he's younger. And when I have comparable players, my heart of hearts always tells me to go younger. So having said that, this is the one time where I would probably make an exception because in my heart, I think Kevin Byard is actually really important to the locker room of the Bears and the Bears defense.
Sets the tone.
Setting the tone. And that's the invaluable deal breaker for me on this one, I guess. So I do agree. It's a really tough decision.
It is. And the leadership of the locker room is very hard to combine sometimes. You know, not every player can step up and be that or gather that kind of a respect from other players.
Yeah, it's not as easy as you think. And it's not like, you know, when you lose that person, it's not like there's another one on the roster waiting in the wings.
No.
You know?
It comes naturally to some people better than to others.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a little bit torn on this one, but I tend to agree that it's Byard. All right, number 3, a topic that we have no secrets about, aggressively address the defensive line. I'm not going to go so far as to say that the Bears have to swing a blockbuster trade for a pass rusher, but 2025's performance in that department was inexcusable. The Bears were one of the worst teams in the league at bringing down the quarterback, and a team that can't register sacks without sending extra rushers is one that will not advance far in the postseason. Their first round selection in the 2026 NFL Draft should almost certainly go to the best available defensive lineman, and they need to be ready to pounce in free agency if a big name comes available. The Bears have been linked to Max Crosby, a 5-time Pro Bowl defensive end, and a trade for him might be just what Chicago needs. Whatever they do, the defensive line must be a priority. Now, Max Crosby being linked to Chicago might be a bit of a reach here. Here is at Bears Season, SZN, by the way, at Bears SZN. Max Crosby talking about Bears QB Caleb Williams on the Let's Go podcast. Quote, "He's a hell of a player. He's ultra competitive. You can tell when he's out there, he's trying to will his team to win. When you have a guy like that at quarterback, it permeates through the whole team." So that's nice praise from, you know, the veteran edge rusher Max Crosby here. And we did see him and Caleb Williams having some fun play battles on the field during that Week 4 game in Las Vegas. But nevertheless, man, the price tag on a Max Crosby in a trade makes me super nervous. I think I'd much rather the Bears throw money at a guy like Trey Hendrickson, who's not even mentioned here, by the way. You know, I thought that was really interesting. We did a whole piece about Trey Hendrickson being Pro Football Focus's like most logical landing spot for him being the Bears. And yet here you have Sports Illustrated top 5 things the Bears need to address, and they don't even bring him up. They say if a big name comes available in free agency, but don't we know that one's already available?
Maybe they don't consider him as a big name.
I would disagree with that.
I would too, but it's not.
Well, I would go with the group that's grading out the players and knows what their grades are more than somebody just willy-nilly off the cuff names.
Yeah.
I also wanted to point out that if the Bears were to sign somebody like Trey Hendrickson in free agency or even acquire Max Crosby via a trade, then I think their first round draft pick should not necessarily go to edge rusher, considering that both of those guys themselves, I believe, were taken in later rounds of drafts. So that's just something to keep in mind as we go into the draft that you don't necessarily have to use a number one or a first round draft pick on your biggest need in order to get that need filled.
Okay.
It's always what people tend to think makes sense. But to me, the Bears will also need an offensive lineman, and that's point number 4.
Okay.
Find a capable left tackle. In a season full of bad injury luck, none were more devastating than Ozzie Trapillo's ruptured patellar tendon at the very end of their wildcard game. It was bad enough that this injury came so late in the season, making it unlikely that Trapillo will be able to play until halfway through the 2026 season. And that is even being optimistic. But it's such a catastrophic injury for a big man like Trapillo that he may never return to his pre-injury form. And sadly, that is also true. So
yeah,
we've been saying it. Now Sports Illustrated is saying it, Nika.
Must be true.
Just as it seemed that the Bears had their left tackle position figured out for the next 10 years, they're right back at square one. Ryan Poles needs to operate as if Trapillo isn't even on the roster at this point and aggressively seek a short-term replacement. It also wouldn't hurt to spend another day 2 draft pick on a left tackle that could be developed into a starter. And I would go even a step further here, Nika, and say like that first pick might need to be a tackle.
Yeah.
If you think that there's a good one there that can be your tackle for the next 10 years, you take him. With due respect to Ozzie Trapillo, I love him. I love his smile. I'm devastated for him saying this. I just don't think you can rely on him.
No, not after his injury. And then, what kind of player is he coming back to be?
I would love to hold out hope that he would join this team next January as we go to the playoffs and give us that boost going into the playoffs, even as a wild card team next year, maybe. But
you just don't know.
I just don't think that's realistic at all.
Yeah.
If I'm Ryan Poles, I got to be realistically honest with myself. And I'm sure he is. And Ben Johnson, they need to be realistic and honest. And they want to run the football. You need a cohesive offensive line. It makes sense to replace this now.
Oh, yes, definitely.
I also, with respect to the left tackle position, I don't think the Bears had enough faith in Theo Benedict to start him against the Rams. I think we found that out when they put Joe Thuney there, everybody. It makes me think that Theo Benedict's not what Ben Johnson wants out there to start season 2 of his coaching tenure. All right, well, last but certainly not least on this list of 5 things, Nika, prepare for a brutal cap situation in 2027. If all goes well with Caleb Williams' development in 2026 and the 2025 season makes me believe that it will, then the Bears are going to have to reset the quarterback contract market in 2027. This is a position in which the Bears have never found themselves. That is true. Their biggest quarterback contract ever was to Jay Cutler in 2014 when he signed a 7-year deal for $126.7 million. That was a measly $18.1 million per year. I mean, we just saw Justin Fields get $20 million a year.
But
from the Jets, everybody.
That's true, but that was a long time ago.
That was last year. The
Cutler deal was a long time ago.
It was absolutely a long time ago, but and I don't think he even played till 2021. We had Trubisky and we had Fields in there by then. So I mean, he didn't finish out that contract, and I don't know how much of it he wound up getting paid. Williams' extension will blow that out of the water. There's a very good chance it ends up in the neighborhood of $260 million for a 4-year deal, or $65 million per year. Make no mistake, this is a good problem to have, but it is a problem nonetheless, and Ryan Poles needs to spend this offseason positioning himself for this potentially historic contract.
So they got to clear some money
before. I think it just means spend wisely now, because you may be handcuffed more than you've ever been handcuffed in your life next year. And we've seen the Chiefs navigate these problems, so it's not like there's not a blueprint somewhere.
Sure. And he comes from the Chiefs.
Yeah, absolutely. Having said that, as you look at free agents like Trey Hendrickson, for example, and your pass rush, or do I trade draft capital for other people, that's going to become a cost issue. It's going to be hard either way. But I think the Bears have to do the best job that they can right now and strike while this iron is hot. You can digress and take a step backward next year, or you can keep pushing forward, breaking on through like the Chiefs did after they lost to the Patriots in the divisional round a couple years ago and then won their first championship the following year with Patrick Mahomes. That's my blueprint for success. That's where I'm going to go and look right now. What moves did they make after they came up short?
Sure, that's a good organization to follow.
But either way, he's bringing up a great point here, and it's never too early to start thinking ahead. And I like Caleb Williams a lot, and I hope he's the Chicago Bears quarterback for a long, long time and growing with Ben Johnson. But nevertheless, that is going to be an expensive endeavor if it all works out like you want it to, Bears fans. So make no mistake, as he says, this is a good problem to have. It is a good problem, but it is a problem nonetheless.
Gotta move money around.
Absolutely. Well, I am watching with close eyes as to what the Bears do, and I think it's never been a better offseason time to be a Bears fan, in all honesty. This is one of the most exciting off seasons we're going to see in a long time, I think.
Yeah, because we're not seeing anybody getting fired or moved or
well,
whatever.
There are some coaching movement potentially going on. We'll know more about that in the coming days, but that's a good problem to have also, because that means that your team is doing well and other teams want some of that success on their team.
Yeah, talking to you, Green Bay.
Talking to you, Green Bay. All right, folks. Well, we will keep talking about Green Bay all offseason because we got bragging rights this year. Nothing you could say or do about it, folks up there in Cheesehead Land. Sorry. Not sorry. Now what are you going to do? Can't bring me down. We beat you 2-1 this year. I don't care how many touchdown to interceptions Jordan Love threw. The scoreboard is the only thing that matters.
Ultra.